Hi, I'm Amy Edwards, and welcome to the Edwards Table. This podcast is all about real conversations, the kind that come from life, love, family, friendship, and all the messy, beautiful parts in between. I started this show because I believe in redemption stories and in sitting down together to talk about the things that shape us, heal us, and sometimes just make us laugh. So grab a seat, take a breath, and join me, because there's always room for you here at the Edwards Table. Well, hey y'all, and welcome to this week's episode of the Edwards Table podcast. My name is Amy Edwards, super excited to be here, and just wanted to say thanks to anybody who's been following along this journey. It has definitely been a journey. And thank you to anyone who's new here in our listening community. Super excited that you grabbed a seat and joined us here at the table. But this week I was thinking about it. Actually, I had an amazing opportunity to meet a friend for coffee this morning, and she and I were chatting about some things. And I know if you've been with me at all, you periodically will hear me talk about just learning to love the person that I see when I look in the mirror. And that's one of the parts to what I am aiming toward this year in 2026. So learning to love myself well through my spiritual life, my physical life, and just my mental life in general. Also, we're going to pause for just a second. If you hear a little jingly bell in the background, that would be Maddie's cat. She is having some fun zoomies right now. And if you know cats, there is no requesting them to be still and be quiet. So hopefully my microphone is being protected enough to where you're not hearing that distraction, but it always gets me tickled. So if I do a little giggle here in a minute, you'll know why. Sorry, sidebar, we're coming back to it now. So in an effort to think about that, like loving yourself well, and truly loving the woman or the man that you see when you look in the mirror. So for me personally, I was telling my dear friend that it's very difficult for me in this season of my life. And in the Christian community, we speak a language sometimes we jokingly will call it Christianese. So if you're not a believer and you don't go to church and whatever, don't be distracted or discouraged by what I'm sharing. I'm confident you just heard that, so sorry. Please don't be discouraged from what I'm sharing, because it's applicable to all of us. We all live in this world, and no matter what we believe in, our self-value, our self-worth is something that I know as a woman, it is something that I definitely ebb and flow in my love relationship with myself, right? And so I just want you to know that part of what I have to do is be very intentional with that, which is not a bad thing, right? But it's also not an easy thing. It's kind of like if you've listened in on some of the previous episodes, you might have heard me talk about, forgiveness, for instance, like showing up and actually practicing forgiveness. Just like in marriage, just like in any relationship, forgiveness is something that we have to practice daily. We have to make a decision that we're going to do it, right? Well, I feel like that really applies to loving ourselves. And there are different venues and avenues that we can take and use and whatever else to truly love ourselves. Reality is that no matter how beautiful you look, how intentional you are with your health, with your well-being, with anything, there are so many things in life that come and go without our control. And I'm thinking about it because in the past few weeks, John and I have been, and John's my husband, he and I have a business together. It's a general contracting business. And we've had the privilege of working alongside of a beautiful nonprofit organization. Since I don't have permission to say it, I'm not going to, but he has built some custom cabinetry for them to be able to bless some families whose children are going through some rough things. And as life would have it, the person that we're connected to wound up at that same hospital, not because of work, but because of her own child. And so just an absolutely unheard of medical event in this child's life, not once, but now twice, right? And I was just thinking about how, you're chugging along, you're doing your day to day. If you're a mom, if you're a wife, if you're not, if you're a woman, if you're a man, you're just chugging along doing your thing. But life will show up in ways that is just unforeseen. It blindsides us. We have no idea that these things are going to come to be. I've heard so many people that I care about and love, for instance, talking about a diagnosis with their health, like no idea, none. I personally went through that years back when the kids were little. Let's see, Quinn was in school. He was like, I guess maybe kindergarten, first grade. I'm trying to think. I know the age span. They're 5 years apart. Mad was still little and was in her car seat. And Quinn was in a booster. So it had to be like kindergarten, first grade, something like that for him. But I'll tell you a story. So I had packed Maddie in the car. We drove into town. At the time, we lived about 25 minutes from the school. And I had noticed, like, over the course of the past couple of weeks, maybe into months, I was exhausted. I was tired. Now, let me be honest. I had Quinn and Maddie. I had a miscarriage and then a complete hysterectomy over the course of 5 years. And also my pregnancy with Maddie was triplet girls. So like there was a lot in my body that had gone on, right? So me being tired, not like bells and whistles shocking. This was pretty much, for those of you mamas out there, I mean, come on, like let's get with it. No matter how old your kids are, if they are toddlers, teens or tweens, adults, it doesn't matter. I feel like it is just a badge of courage we wear, exhaustion. If you're a woman going through all kinds of hormonal fun, which is pretty much your 10 till you meet Jesus, like it's a thing, right? So we're not shocked or surprised when we feel tired. But what I was noticing was I was like napping. And then if I would fall asleep when the kid, like for instance, Maddie would take a nap and I'd fall asleep and then I'd get back up, I literally felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I did not feel better. I did not feel good. So as time went on, I tried drinking more caffeine. I tried cutting out caffeine. I tried eating differently, being more active, being less active. Like it didn't matter what I was doing. I was absolutely exhausted. And it didn't necessarily interfere with my life per se, but it was a nuisance, excuse me. It was just annoying. And it frustrated me. Went to the doctor, they ran blood panel, everything's fine. Okay, great. So time goes on and I back to where I was. So I get in the car, pack Maddie up, drive in to get Quinn, and I pull up in car rider line. And I realize I've fallen asleep in the car rider line. And so I wake up, I pull up where I should be, get him in the car, and we start driving home. Well, where we lived, you did get on the interstate and you drove for some miles before you got out to where we were. So I vividly remember I get on the entrance ramp of the highway, and at that point, it was one merge lane and 3 lanes of traffic that in a matter of, a mile or two, it came down to 2 lanes of traffic. So like, it wasn't necessarily super duper busy all the time, but it was very typical to have traffic. So you would have cars there no matter. So I pull on to the highway. I remember being on the on-ramp, and then all of a sudden I black out. I don't remember anything. And when I came to, I had crossed over all the lanes of traffic. I was in the emergency lane. I had my hazard lights on. And when I really came to, Quinn was beating on the back of my seat, just screaming and crying. Maddie was crying, and Quinn kept saying over and over again, Mommy, Mommy, wake up, Mommy, you almost hit the truck. You almost hit the 18-wheeler, Mommy. Mommy, you almost hit the 18-wheeler. And I don't know about you all, but like when you come out of some kind of really deep sleep and you get kind of jarred awake, just like that feeling of being fuzzy and disoriented and whatever. And I'm trying to make sense of like what I'm hearing, the panic in his voice and the amount of just hysterical cries out of Maddie. And I'm watching, and I mean, you know, this is a busy highway, so like cars are whizzing by, tractor trailer rigs are coming by, and I finally come to, and I kind of get my bearings, and I realize like I was unconscious in this time. I don't know what just happened. I don't have any recollection of what just happened. And so immediately I call John, and I'm upset, obviously, and I'm like, I do not know what just happened, but I do not remember the last 2 to 3 miles that I just drove, but I can tell you I was on the far side of the highway, and when I woke up, I was on the opposite side. Quinn's screaming that I almost hit a tractor trailer rig, like an 18-wheeler. The car was in park. The hazards were on. I don't remember doing any of that. I remember none of it. And so John asks, he's like, well, are you okay to drive home? And I said, I think I am. I mean, as long as that doesn't happen again, I'll be fine, right? So I stay in the far right lane to drive home, just in case something, God forbid, happens again. And John meets me there, make sure that we're all good. And so that was my wake-up call. That was the moment where it's like, okay, life has completely got to pause, and you're going to have to go get this figured out. I mean, we can't afford for me to be driving 2 small children around and blacking out behind the wheel. So over the course of the next 11 months, we went to, gosh, I want to say 9 specialists. Literally any doctor that has any sort of specialty degree next to their name, I visited. And over the course of time, if you've ever dealt with this in your life, you know that the way our medical system works is if you're seeing specialists, they work independently. If you're seeing a GP, general practitioner, they're kind of your launching pad off to where they're going to send you. And then from there, you kind of get passed around, if you will, until somebody figures something out about you. So we went and saw, one of the doctors was a cardiologist, and they did extensive testing on me, and come to find out I do have arrhythmia, heart arrhythmia. And the way that mine works is you have 4 chambers of your heart. 2 of my chambers love one another. The other 2 chambers love one another, but they pretty much hate each other in sets of 2. So like when the top 2 chambers are going well, the bottom 2 chambers act a fool and decide to stop beating, and then the upper 2 are going nuts trying to keep up with it. Vice versa, they play games. Eventually everybody calms down and we get it figured out. So immediately I was put on heart medication. I was also put on I'm trying to think of what it was. The medicine that I was on is actually 1 pill, but it was 2 put together, and it was like one that kind of helped even out my heart rate, and then the other to help, I think, with my salt. Doesn't matter. Don't take it anymore. But during the course of this 11 months, I also wore a heart monitor, and come to find out, I have an aversion to latex. That was super fun. So they give you these sticky pads, which are like Band-Aids on speed. They're round, they're about 2 inches in diameter, and you get 2 of those. One goes up close to your heart, the other goes on your rib cage below it, and then these electrodes that hook up to it, you just pop them on, they've got snaps, and then you wear the little monitor. This was back in the day, y'all. Calm down. I know technology has indeed changed. All the praise to the Lord. But at the time, this is what it was. And fun facts, so when I would have my heart monitor, it would automatically turn on at certain times and just record what my heart was doing. But then other times when I would feel an episode coming on, I could push the button on the little box that I hung on my belt or wore inside my pants, and it would record at that time. So they could hopefully pick up on what was going on. And then every so many days, I would have to sit with a landline. And for all you younglings not familiar, back in the day, yes, we had a cell phone, but we also had a home phone. And our home phone actually plugged into the wall, hence the term landline. You're at home on land. You know the things. So in any case, I would call the doctor's office number that I had to call and then, send all of that over. In the meantime, I saw an oncologist. I saw, good heavens, I saw all of them. Kidney doctor, liver doctor, blood specialist, all these things. And the final doctor that I went to see was an ENT, ear, nose, and throat. And he wanted me to go see, I think it was a lung specialist. And apologies if you're a lung specialist, I don't know your official specialty name, but you're a lung doctor, okay? And this doctor says, I'm not loving what I'm seeing because the one doctor, I'm trying to think which doctor it was, but like they tested me because by the time I actually started going to all of these different doctors, I apologize, I'm kind of backtracking, but it had gotten to where I was walking, kind of fumbling as I walked. It almost looked like I was drunk. Couldn't walk a straight line. I would slur my speech, which I talk pretty lazily with my tongue. Like I don't enunciate words anyway, but then you could really tell. It sounded like I was getting tongue-tied and wasn't able to really speak clearly. And then the exhaustion. I was so tired. Past that, those were my symptoms. And so we had a neurologist checking on me, and he didn't love what he was seeing, but he couldn't pinpoint it. And so finally, when I went to the lung specialist, he ordered a sleep study. He was like, we've got to try something. I mean, because literally, y'all, they have drawn, I don't even know how I had blood left by the end of all of these appointments and whatever else. Thankfully, blood replicates quickly in our bodies when we're healthy, but I don't know how I had any. I mean, literally every time I went to a doctor, they're taking a blood draw, they're taking, let's take multiple, let's take it this way, let's, jump around and let's try it that way and whatever. And so I go to the hospital. It's an overnight visit, and it's really kind of cool. They set up, like a area that looks like a hotel in the hospital. You get a room. It has two-way glass in it. So it feels like you have a mirror in your room, but actually it is them watching you. And then they hook you up to what feels like 1.3 million electrodes. So they have all these wee little patches literally all over the front of you, all over your back, and all over your head. And so if you've paid any attention to anything about me back then, as well, I had long hair. And so, you can imagine the gloop that they put in there along with all these electrodes. So, got all hooked up, and they had a belt around me, I think maybe mid-chest, and that was monitoring something with I don't even remember, breathing. They were monitoring my heart, all of the things. But the bottom line of what they wanted to see was what my sleep cycle was like. So they come in, the nurses that are working with me, like hook me up to all of the things. And the one nurse stands there with me and is finishing up, and the second nurse goes to turn out the lights. And the last thing I heard was, Amy, we're going to turn out the lights and we'll come in to wake you up. I didn't hear anything else. Why? Because as soon as they turned the lights out, my body went from a full awake cycle to deep sleep, sitting up. So your girl here, not a quitter. Apparently, I hold the record for who can fall asleep the fastest in the sleep study. So well done me. I'm sad I did not get a trophy, but I have bragging rights. So when we got the results back from this test, what we found was I had some sort of infection in my body And instead of what infection typically does, which is goes to your immune system and causes you to get sick, right? So you get coughing and maybe fever and chills, maybe a rash, or whatever your body decides is how it's going to fight it. This particular infection went and attacked my central nervous system. And what that meant was we all should have 8 chemicals in our brains to help us cycle through the sleep cycle. Somebody who has narcolepsy has 7 of those chemicals, and your girl here has 4. So when my central nervous system got attacked, it explains all of my symptoms, and it explains why I could sleep for hours. I mean, literally for 12 hours and still wake up and feel like I had not slept at all. So my body does not do a REM cycle. It does other things in the cycle of sleep, but it doesn't do the REM cycle. And so there are different steps because of the chemicals missing in my brain that are jumped over or are shortened or are lengthened depending. So I could go into all of that, but I don't want to bore you. Suffice it to say that I can be mid-conversation and I can go to sleep, just like someone with narcolepsy. Now, the deal of it is that over the course of time, they medicated me from the beginning for that. So what they gave me, interestingly enough, was Adderall, which is a stimulant to someone who has a neurotypical brainwave function, okay? So like for us, what that acts like is caffeine. It is a lot of caffeine, is how the body takes it and uses it, is to stimulate you, to keep you going, right? Well, that worked for a while. Over a little bit of time, I started kind of feeling a little bit more normal. But my doctor, who oversaw my care, said that he was not going to sign off on me ever driving again, because even though I had potential for learning and teaching, like learning from what is going on in my body and then listening to it and then behaving in a way that helps my body to get more rest and whatever else, just because I would do those things, he didn't want to put that liability on himself. The good news in all of this was it took many years. However, over the course of those years, I went up to the highest amount of what I could take of Adderall. And then once I reached that peak, my cardiologist, was like, okay, that's all the higher you can go because it's going to start affecting your heart and whatnot. I'm like, okay, great. So I had to learn how, once they weaned me off of all of my medicine, I had to learn how to, 1, listen to my body, 2, obey what it was telling me, and 3, make adjustments in my lifestyle. Well, I don't know if you've picked up yet about me. If you've been listening along, I'm a bit of a bucket of sass. I tend not to be super joy-filled when somebody tells me what I can and can't do, to the point of defiance, and not in a healthy way, I might add. So being told that this is what you're going to have to start doing did not make me very happy. It also impacted my lifestyle tremendously as a mom. So being a stay-at-home mom at that point in my life, it was devastating. Like, Mad was only 18 months, 2 years old, 2 to 3, somewhere in there. I mean, still young enough to where I'd like scoop her up, pick her up, carry her around. Well, I couldn't do that. I couldn't risk it. I couldn't take a chance of picking her up and potentially blacking out and dropping her and her getting hurt. For that full 11 months, really longer than that, I didn't drive. I am a stay-at-home mom of 2 children, 1 in school, and they had to be taken to and from school, and you're telling me I can't drive. Preparing meals, definitely on the chopping block. Like, maybe you'll be able to get a meal that night, maybe not. Going and hanging out with people, going and doing fun things. Like, my life got turned upside down, and there was nothing I could have done to like have made that not happen, or to have changed it, or to have fixed it, or to have avoided it. It's just something that happened in my body, and it's something that I had to attend to. And so from that experience, I learned a good bit about myself. Now, I'm not going to tell you that in my wee early 30s that I was listening to myself really well. For those of you in your 30s, hang in there. It's not as awful as it sounds. But I do feel like, as women, especially in our 30s, we tend to put our head down and flip our switch to on, and we just go. And we go at all costs, and we go without pausing. And for me, it took my body physically stopping and physically acting a fool. And then my doctor's telling me, you will not drive. You may not pick up your daughter. You really should not be cooking unless you're being supervised, especially in front of an open flame. So you're going to have to adjust your life. And what I thought was hilarious was they told me I could take naps. I'm like, look at here. Ain't nobody got time for naps. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I ain't got time to be taking naps, yo. I've got things to do. And my body pretty much told me, well, you can either nap or you can not, but life's not going to be fun for you if you don't. So medicine, naps. I did learn some things about like what I could and couldn't eat, and actually feel good when doing it or not doing it. So, all self-learned, taking many years to do so. And thankfully, I'm very happy to report I still can fall asleep just like I'm explaining. But the beautiful thing is that I have trained my body. So probably the most that I feel now, like I had before, is at night when my body is done for the day, and girl will tell me, shouting it from the mountaintops, ma'am, we're finished and we're going to bed, is I will get, my legs start getting really restless and my chest starts getting heavy. And it's not anything to be frightened about. Please do not come at me in the comment section about I need to see cardiologists. Breathe. I am experiencing what you experience unconsciously. So when you're going to sleep at night and your body has relaxed completely and your body is moving into that REM cycle, my body goes ahead and does those things. It's just my brain doesn't allow me to go to sleep yet. I just start feeling it until I finally like shut off and close my eyes and go to sleep. So if I'm like fighting with myself, trying to stay awake or whatever, like that's what I start feeling. There are other times, and John Edwards will be the first to tell you that I'm very much that meme that's out right now, talking about please start the movie where we ended it last night, and literally you haven't even made it through like the title sequence of the film, so like the first 2 minutes. I'm very much that girl. If I lay down is when that is really going to happen. Now, I still can sleep sitting up. I can sleep with lights on and noise and all of that. But if I'm going to recline and it's evening, you can pretty much guarantee yourself I'm out. So I guess why I like had this thought about this story and just the way that life works, it's not fair. Like, it's not fair that a young mom of 2 kids almost hits an 18-wheeler because she blacks out behind the wheel. It wasn't malicious intent. It was not anything of intent, no intentionality whatsoever. It's just my body it gave out that day and said no more. It's like a cancer diagnosis. Like, nobody signs up for that. Nobody. I've never heard someone say, golly, I'm so thankful that I got a terrible diagnosis with my health. And I mean, somebody swerves into your lane and clips your fender. there are so many things that happen because of accident, because it just does. And that's the way life goes. There's no justification of fairness. Like, you can't justify it and say, oh, well, that's fair that you got it, but she didn't, or he got that, that happened to him, but not to him, and therefore it's fair for that person, but not this one. It's just the way life goes. And so I was thinking about that, I guess because of our folks that we know, and just watching what they've gone through with their son, not once, but now twice, and how, one, highly unlikely it is that he should have ever even had it happen once, much less twice, and the miraculous recovery that he is making. But just in an instant, I mean, it's the snap of a finger and life just shifts. It goes from fifth to first, and there is no neutral in that. And I think when I look back on that time for me personally, like going through something like that, I know that the world tells us so many things about how we should feel and what we should do and whatever else, albeit that's a lot of strangers talking. I don't even know if it is strangers talking. I feel like things sometimes just come out of the absolute air. But just thinking about how life goes sometimes and not understanding the why behind it. And quite frankly, a lot of times, if not most, there's not an answer. There's not a good reason. There's not a justification. And I think, for me personally anyway, if it weren't for my faith, I can honestly tell you, I don't know how I would cope. I truly can say that. I don't know. I don't know how you function in the world when it is just throwing stuff at you right and left, and you have nothing to lean on and nothing to rely on and nothing to depend on, no truth to stand on, and you're just trying to make it. I don't know how to speak to that. I don't know how to do it. I don't even know what that looks like. I can't fathom it. I can't fathom that I would be all alone in a world that is cruel and is unfair and unjust, and there's just so much out there that's so messy. And I don't pretend to say that because I'm a believer and because I love Jesus and because I follow him, that my life is super easy, and that I don't have hard things happen or that unjust things happen. You better believe it. If you listen to my story in season 1, you know for a fact that is the case. I have had many things happen in my life that are not fair, that shouldn't have happened, but they did. And without having my faith, I can tell you I would not be where I am today. I would be addicted to at least alcohol. At least would be an alcoholic, because I don't like lie. I enjoy a glass of wine or a good drink from time to time. I love beer. Not a healthy, helpful option right now for the waistline. But like the numbing part of drinking, I could totally see, like, if you've listened also, you know, like I've had issues with my hips, and so I have chronic pain there, but I could totally see easily being addicted to pills. Easily. Like, yeah, I'll take pain meds all day, every day, so I don't feel what I have to feel. And I think that's the difference. I think that because of my faith, I can feel. I can feel the hard things, and I can sit with them, not because of me. Like, it's not a me thing that I'm doing. It truly is God's love for me, that he sits with me in the hard times. And you may be asking then, out of frustration, Amy, what the heck? Like, why would he let you go through that? And the quick answer is, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I found that my story and why I went through something really hard and really ugly, there's not a good reason why I had it happen, but there's an amazing and incredible way that God used it. So don't ever let somebody justify that something terrible happened to you and that that's good, that bad things are happening to you so that God could, quote, use them. No, you don't have to be okay with the bad stuff. It is solidly okay to not be joy-filled that you've been sexually molested. That would not be a reason to say, oh yeah, that was really good that that happened. And look at, I've forgiven my father, but that does not excuse his behavior. That doesn't change that he made horrible choices with me as a little girl and therefore severed a relationship with me as his daughter. Doesn't change that. But what it does is, even with that, even with all of just the gross, awful things that came from that, the beautiful thing that God does is he takes all of that brokenness, all of that pain, all of that suffering, and he sits with us through it, and he then takes that and can use it to then make something beautiful from it. It's a very hard concept to wrap your head around, especially if you don't believe in God. It's not going to make sense. You are going to think I am talking like a psychopath, and that's okay. Totally fine. I get that. It's not going to make sense, possibly, if you are a believer, but you're sitting in the middle of a really hard time. The why of hard things is never easy. The why of people doing wrong to young children or other people or whatever, it's not easy. It's messy. It's hard. And with God by our side, with God holding us, with God carrying us, he never makes a promise in his word that our lives are going to be easy, ever. He never promises that. But what he does promise is that no matter what, he will never leave us. He will never forsake us. And the bottom line there is we don't even comprehend what that truly means because we live in a broken world. We are birthed by parents who are human beings that have made mistakes forever in their lives. We make mistakes in our lives. Like, there's no good, perfect picture other than what Jesus did for us when he died on that cross. Like, literally. We can't even fathom it. No matter how, quote, good we think we are, we're not. We're a hot mess, every single one of us. So, but I think that picture of Jesus dying on that cross, that's the beautiful picture that we can hold with us, is that he lived on this earth and he walked alongside of brothers and sisters and mom and a dad and lived in a town and was raised as a carpenter's son, and I'm sure got his hands dirty and all the things. Like, all those details from, I think it was 12 until he was 30. Like, we don't see any of those details in scripture. And I think part of that is it's just the mundane reality of real world life. Like, exactly what we do day to day to day to day. But the beautiful thing is that because he did say yes, because he is perfect, because he did live as a man on this planet in a whole body of skin and had a ministry here on the earth for the last 3 years of his life, and then completely perfect, having made no mistakes, having broken no laws, having done nothing wrong, was convicted and sentenced and flogged and stripped and hung on a cross to have to face death, so that we don't have to if we make the choice to follow him. It's mind-boggling, y'all. And that is what keeps me sane. That is what gives me hope. That is what allows me to pick myself up when I fall down and when life absolutely cuts me at the knees. And let me tell you, in my personal life right now, I've had a lot go on too. And a lot of questions that I ask, the why. I still ask God why, because He can handle it. He can handle our why. Daddy, why are you letting this happen right now? Can you show me something? Just give me some sort of peace of mind, of understanding. And you know what, y'all? He doesn't always answer that prayer the way I want Him to. In fact, most of the time He doesn't. He doesn't show me His reasoning because my mind couldn't handle it. My heart definitely couldn't handle it. Just because of who we are and how we are wired as human beings, our minds are finite. There is an ending to us. We will die one day, right? Here on this earth, our bodies die. Our souls, thankfully, don't have to. But what God does do for me in a very beautiful way, because He created me, He knows me by name. I think one of the most beautiful illustrations, and I wish I had pulled the verse for y'all. I will put this out on social media and when I look it up, but there's a passage in the Bible that says that He's engraved our names on His hands, on His palms. And I think about how beautiful it is to have your name on His hand. And you think about what that truly means, metaphorically, obviously, because all of our names are a part of what nailed Him to that cross, right? But that He knows me by name, and that another scripture, that He knows the number of hairs on my head, and that another scripture, He knew me before He knit me in my mother's womb. Like many verses that point back to a God who created the absolute heavens, the earth, the people, the animals, the plants, anything you can imagine. It's all out of creation, and so carefully planned, but then also so much so that He gave me and you unique fingerprints, like they're unique to every human. There's not a one that's been replicated. Not one out of billions of people that have lived on this planet. That there's never been another me. There is only one of me that will ever exist. Previous to me, after me, I'm it. You're it. There's not another one of you coming. I just find that so beautiful and so amazing, and honestly so rewarding and so refreshing. It's so hopeful in knowing that this mighty God can be so gentle and tender, that He is because He's love. He is because He's our creator. He's our redeemer. He's redeemed us from a hot mess of a life and from sin that we absolutely can't control. We're going to do things, we're going to say things that are going to be bad. They're not going to be good. And I don't know, I just find it so beautiful. And so as I reflect back on my why behind today's episode, I think about how God has redeemed a very messy, messy story, which is mine. Messy because I have lived through abuse. I have made some really awful decisions, including having an abortion. I have been in a marriage that I was ready to walk away from. I have had millions of dollars in things only to lose every single one of them when the economy crashed in 08-09. I just love the ribbon that God weaves in my life of redemption. He has redeemed it all. And I was sharing with my friend, like I was telling you about earlier today, like we were talking through some things actually about this podcast and my vision for what we're doing here, and how she can be praying, and I'm setting goals and she can hold me accountable, because I need that. But just thinking about how God pulls Christianese. We're back to Christianese again. Sorry. So some people will say like God pulls back the curtain of heaven. Well, bottom line of what we're saying is gives you glimpses of what heaven will be, right? Well, I also think that what God will do for me is sprinkle little bits and pieces of what's to come in my life. And don't hear me say I'm sitting down and watching like a 3-hour feature film presentation with a slide deck and speaker notes, nothing like that. But like, just I'll have an encounter with another person that maybe I haven't heard from in 20 years, and out of nowhere I hear from them. And something that they said is part of another conversation I've had when I'm struggling with something. And it's like God allows these alignings of all of these different things to show me, yes, this is where I want you to go. Yes, this is who I'm intending you to be. Yes, you can do this because I am with you. No, you cannot do this on your own. And if you try to do it on your own, it will be a disaster. So take me with you. Let me show you where I want you to go. Let me show you the things that I want you to do, because I have a divine plan and a purpose that I planned before I created the planet with you in mind, knowing you were going to be on this earth, knowing that you were going to be the wife of John and the mom to Matt and Quinn and your babies in heaven and your foster kiddos. Knowing the people that you haven't even met yet because you're going to meet them in 3 months. Like, he does that for not just me and not just what maybe you think are, quote, good people. Knock that off. That is not truth at all. God does that for all of us. He did that for all of us with the hope that we will say yes to him. It's really been a good day. And let me also say this. I didn't say this at the very beginning. If you watch me on YouTube, this is the first time I've ever done this, but like I literally have my hair up in a messy bun. I have not gotten a haircut or color because I'm looking and I'm like, whoo, that's a lot of gray right there. Since last year. And it's not on purpose. It really and truly, it's just trying to be conscientious of my budget and got to get a haircut. I'm looking a little bit frumpy. And like I don't have on full makeup. I did put a red lip on. I mean, it's a nod to my grandma. I love a good red lip anyway. But I just wanted today to be super authentic. And I think that's part of what I've missed with you all at times. Not that I haven't been transparent, because I assure you, short of running naked through Times Square, like I've said before, I am being very transparent. But I think authentic too. Not faking who I am and not trying to be someone I'm not. I love who God made me to be. I love that I snort when I laugh, when it's really funny. I love that because of all the hard things that I've been through, that I can see past where you are and truly see the person he intends you to be with your potential in full force. I love that about myself. I love that he wired me that way. And I love that he took some disgusting, despicable times of my sweet baby little childhood and he used them for good. He made me someone who truly loves people. Also hear me say I don't love peopling. It's kind of confusing, I know. But I love people. I love your stories, and I love that the hard things are what refine us and make us stronger and help us become who we're meant to be. I love that God can take all of those things and truly use them for good, for his good. And what his good means is it points us back to him. Like we can't explain any of it without saying his name. And I think that's what I've held back with you. sometimes, not always, but I think sometimes I'm a little hesitant. I fear that I'll lose my audience or I'll offend someone. And quite frankly, I should offend you. Even if you're a believer, there are going to be times where I'm going to step on your toes because maybe God's trying to tell you something. Sometimes I offend myself because I'm like, Amy, you're out there preaching it, girl, but you're not living it. So I just really wanted to take pause today and think about when life throws us a blow that we are just absolutely not expecting. And like I said, totally not expecting my health issues back when those happened. But then what God did with that and through that, he slowed me down. And I needed to be slowed down, y'all. I was running 100 miles an hour with my hair on fire, and I was not a present parent. I was a stay-at-home mom. How are you a stay-at-home mom and not a present parent? Well, you volunteer for every little thing that comes up. You're always at the school, always at the church, doing all of the things. And guess where you're not? At home. Being available when your kids get off from school. Sitting with them at the dinner table and having a meal together. Preparing said meal. Yeah, that wasn't fun. I didn't like swallowing that pride. But what I learned was I needed to balance my life. Now, it's not to say, good heavens, don't get in a twit. It's not to say you can't be there doing activities and things with your kids. The bottom line, though, is in 20 years, when your kids are all grown up, or in, minus 20 years, depending on how old your kids are, their memories of you are not going to be because you took a Pinterest board and created an absolutely amazing party for them. That's not what they're going to care about. What they're going to care about is that you were there. They're going to care about that you remembered their favorite kind of cake is chocolate with chocolate frosting. # Maddie Grace Edwards. They're going to care about the fact that you're a person of your word. Those are the things that really matter. And those are the things I had to slow down and learn. So let me just say this. I don't recommend highly that you go and have to have some major life crises in order to get yourself to pause and be still for a little bit. Do yourself a favor. Listen to your friend Amy here. Take some breaths. Take a little time and really take inventory. And don't be doing all this New Year's resolution business, okay? I'm not saying all of that, and I'm not saying it's bad. I said that last time. Breathe it out. You want to do that? Great. But if you feel like your life is spinning out of control or feels like no matter what you do, you're not feeling rested and you're not feeling joy in what's going on and whatnot, take inventory of the why, y'all, and lean into that. Don't let something major be your reason of why you pause, because it is truly not fun. I promise, please listen to me. It truly is not. Learn from my mistakes, y'all. That's the lesson today. Learn from my mistakes. But with that in mind, I'm going to wrap it up and wind it out for today. If you've been looking at me on here, you've seen this fella behind me, and it is a fella, and I'll tell you why. So there's a glass jar to my side here, and actually sitting, y'all look at that pretty cutting board. That's one John made. But I'm holding him now. His name is Oscar. And for any of those of you out there that don't do this, this is called a sourdough starter. If addiction is something that runs in your family, I'm going to tell you, just don't do it. Don't. Listen to me. Sourdough can become an addiction. Oscar can take over our lives. He has to be fed and loved and properly kept in a good temperature. So for those of you who do sourdough, make sure it's not turning into a sourdough addiction, albeit my family might think mine is, because we eat a lot of what Oscar makes for us, and not only with this active sourdough starter, but also with all of my discard. So with that in mind, there may not be a recipe this week up. It's going to kind of depend. My time this week is a little bit wonky for good reasons. But over the course of time, I am going to share a couple of my bread recipes because this is an outpouring of kind of where I came from. When I slowed down is when I learned how much I loved being in my kitchen. And so it was a really fun time in my life. Partly because I had to be when Quinn was little, but the other part to it was when I really slowed down, this is where I found so much of my joy in my free time. And so over the course of these next few weeks, like I said, depending on my availability, I don't know that I'll have a recipe every single week, but I have a couple of different recipes I would love to share with you all. I'm an avid follower of some folks on the interwebs and test out their recipes, and whatever else. So I will give them a shout out and I'll give you the link so you can follow them as well. And just know I don't sell products through other people and all of that just jazz. Maybe one day, I don't know. But bread making, oh my gosh, it's so near and dear to my heart. Y'all, look, I'm cuddling Oscar. And if you aren't watching, definitely pop over to YouTube, fast forward to the very end, you can see me cuddling my mason jar of Oscar. But with that said, you guys, I'm honest when I say it. The longer I do this, the better I feel about what I'm doing. Oh, is that fair? And the more I know I'm doing what God's called me to do. And that just makes my cheeks hurt because I smile so much. So with that, I'm going to leave you to it. I hope you will take inventory, pause and take a deep breath, find where you can be still, find where you can maybe cut some stuff out of your life so that you really and truly can sit and enjoy all the good things that God's blessing you with. And in the interim, just know that until next time, there is always a seat for you here, and I am beyond excited for you to see what's coming up. Spoiler alert, I've got some ideas, y'all. Oh, it's going to be fun. So in the meantime, if you're watching me on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you have stayed to the very end, pay attention when I'm doing recipes, y'all. There are cards in my videos. Those are recipe cards that I've made. And we're probably going to have a fun little giveaway soon. Oh, so y'all stay tuned. Definitely follow me on social media. Old lady here learning about TikTok. It's funny and it's fun, so come join me there. But always, always, seat here. You can pull one up every week, and I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.